Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of HeroClix. Today, I am by myself. I know I haven't really done that for a while, and what we're going to do is we're just going to, in all honesty, we're going to be looking at objects. Now, you might be saying, okay, why objects at this stage in the game? You know, really there's one object to rule them all, which is true. Well, let's rephrase that, one relic to rule them all, and that is the Infinity Gauntlet, as we all know. But I think one thing that we probably still want to consider is eventually, and I do mean eventually, we're going to encounter tournaments where either Infinity Gauntlet is banned or relics, in all honesty, are going to be banned. But most likely they're going to be tournaments. I'm predicting in the next 2 to 3 months that people are going to start dealing with situations where they can't bring the Infinity Gauntlet. And so it gives us time to really start looking at some of the objects in the meta so that we can try to get like a better hold of what can we do and what we cannot do. Okay, so the first object that I want us to go to is the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak. You can pick up this object at a 5 or 6. It gives you super strength, toughness, increases your damage, gives you charge. It makes you a mini Juggernaut, and it is quite an enjoyable object in my opinion. It allows you to toughen up some characters, and other characters it allows you to actually have the luxury of being able to get their damage where they need to be for little investment. Again, I know it is situational for it to go off, and that is not guaranteed, and that is a problem. But I do think that, you know, if your team just needs a little bit more damage, a little bit more survivability, or hey, just simply some move and attack, then, you know, that is going to be a great object for you. The other thing I sort of look at with the Crimson Gem is that there are a lot of figures that don't have move and attack, and that charge does help them out. And we can't underestimate charge, definitely in this meta. And then the other thing that we have to consider is, unfortunately, when all's said and done, that when Outwit's involved, that your powers given to you by the gem cannot be outwitted. So that's a really big bonus, and I think that needs to sort of stay at the forefront of people's minds. The next item that I want us to look at is a figure. Well, it's an item I think that the people don't really talk about too much, and I think the main reason that people didn't talk about it really when it came out was that there were so many other things that boosted up damage or attack or gave you cool powers that you like, that folks sort of overlooked it. And that object is the White Lantern. The White Lantern has a couple of benefits. First off, it pretty much stops the negation of support and regeneration, and they can't be countered, which is, in all honesty, really great. The next thing that it allows you to do is to really ensure some of those bigger figures are able to receive support, and I can't count how many times that I've gotten my major attacker or tentpole back to the medic only to have Batman or some other cheap figure outwit my support. So that's important, and definitely when you consider your White Lanterns, they are depending on regeneration, and they're depending on support as well, if you actually have them use support. So I want you to consider this mainly if you're dealing with a meta in which there's a lot of alpha strikes, and I know it says like it doesn't give you support, and I understand that, but I found that if you're dealing with a meta that has heavy amounts of alpha strikes, one way to counter that is like first off barrier, and the second is support. By having support and barrier, you really slow down how much damage your opponent can do to you in a turn, and then you also can negate the damage that they do, and you force them to overextend because they're an aggressive team. And they put everything into that first alpha strike. So let's go ahead and move on. I know it seems like I'm just all over the place, and that's for good reason. I want you all to sort of stick around instead of saying like, oh, he's talking about kryptonite now, so I'm going to go and fast forward. All right, the next object that we're going to look at is an object I feel that's going to be continually overshadowed in its existence and never come into its own, which is the Nova Helmet. The Nova Helmet gives the wielder on a 5 or 6 the use of charge and flight ability. That automatically is worth it. Now I know 6 points, but still, you know, for charge and flight, that's a big thing. And then also they possess the Nova Corps keyword. And so the advantage that I see that comes with this figure is that when you start teaming them up with Nova Prime and Nova Corps Denarian, you know, you're able to have a figure that says like, hey, guess what? You know, I give enhancement, or I give defend, or I take tokens off. It's really like it's a support piece dream that you'll be able to do all these different things or receive all these different benefits for being in a Nova Corps. Preferably just so that you can interact with Nova Prime, you want to try to get a figure that's 50 points or more so that you can, you know, take tokens off of him. But overall, I think that you're going to be in a very interesting situation by using this helmet, and it gives, you know, a lot of grounded characters some options. And just having flight and charge, in my opinion, is worth it. You know, you might be able to find some figure with a high movement but no move and attack ability to really get a lot of mileage out the Nova Corps helmet. So that's one thing. And then also you can consider that if you do have like a mixed non-theme team, that you can pretty much for 6 points, if you get it, you can make a very cheap figure a inexpensive taxi. So again, for all those people out there talking about Astral Strange and the Space Gem and that's like the best taxi ever, I'm not arguing against that now. If you do look at my history on the July meta game thread, originally I was so adamantly against it, and after playing it, I will admit I am wrong, and that it's valid. But I still think that the Nova Helmet, if you're not in the mood of dealing with the Gauntlet or you can't play the Gauntlet, is also a good object as well. Another object that I really want us to talk about, because I tried doing a show on it and talking about it, but it didn't upload to Blip properly, and that's the Gamma Bomb. And this one object has caused so much ire on HC Realms and around the net. It's ridiculous. Let me first talk about the strengths of the Gamma Bomb before I start talking about how to deal with the Gamma Bomb. The strength of the Gamma Bomb, in all honesty, is that it allows you, the player, to put a counter timer to your opponent on the board, and saying, hey, your timer technically is your gauntlet, and it's based on how well that you can roll. And so I figure, and usually about 4 to 5 turns, most people have gotten to 1. By 6 turns, most people have gotten to 2. By 7 turns, people are on 3. If they decide to push past 2. Okay. So what that means is, by having the Gamma Bomb, if someone decides to do, you know, a Stranger and 2 AIM Renegades and Turtle, you're able to say, okay, go ahead and do that. I'm going to put up my nice little bomb here. It's going to be in an inconvenient area. It's going to cover all of your side of the map, and go ahead and stay there. Your stranger will get, to his point on the gauntlet, but by the time he gets out and brings his renegade buddies with him, I'm going to do 3 damage. And I can have a Thunderbolt Ross with Airstrike, and I can just, continue where the Gamma Bomb left off. And with no problems to your team, and you forfeit 5 points to cripple his barrier. And bam, just Airstrike, and there's nothing left of the AIM Renegades, and you're up. So I think that Gamma Bomb, and I know it's funny, with Airstrike, Thunderbolt Ross, that combination of those 2 figures, I don't think people have really thought about that. That you have a man that shoots bombs in a bomb. What could go wrong? Okay. The next thing with dealing with the Gamma Bomb is the following. You have Matter Eater Lad. You have Cyborg Superman. You have so many cheap taxis now. You have Astral Strange. For freak's sakes, you have Astral Strange. You can play a ton of figures in this current meta to go up there and disarm the bomb, or to eat the bomb, or to remove it from the game. You don't have to really worry about that. But also, let's say this: you're in that crowd and you're like, I don't want one figure or one object dictating how I play. If you're in that realm, okay, that's fine. The one thing I would tell you is either decide to be very mobile, packing barrier, packing support, because your opponent is going to set up so that they're going to try to blast you as you get away from the bomb. Or, in all honesty, just sit there and eat it. Eat the 3 damage. Okay, and then remember, you can reduce that damage down. If you have Impervious, you can just pretty much roll Impervious, and if you get it, you won't take any damage. And there's so many teams now that, in all honesty, that are tent poles, that the Gamma Bomb doesn't cripple. Okay, like in Incredible Hulk, your highest point figure that most people were running was like 200 points. Since Incredible Hulk, people were running 200 plus point figures. And with a lot of games that I see are going to be more than 300 points, and we're looking at probably 400, 500 point games with Galactic Guardians out, we're probably going to see that the Gamma Bomb isn't as effective as it once was. But definitely when Incredible Hulk came out, yeah, most of those figures, if you're trying to play any of those, they were going to get pretty hurt. They were going to get hurt pretty bad. That's proper grammar from the Gamma Bomb. So, in all honesty, there are a lot of things that you can do to the Gamma Bomb to help your play, and there's a lot of things that you can do to stop the Gamma Bomb in your play. So sort of just consider that, and don't freak out too much about that when you see it on your opponent's end of the field, okay? All right, spinning the magical dial of objects. Next up, we are going to talk about a favorite of mine, and this actually is going to be a lot more relevant now because of Mole Man, and that is the Violet Lantern. Now, some of you might actually be saying, why are you talking about this, in most people's opinion, crappy lantern? The Yellow Lantern, the Blue Lantern, heck, even the Black Lantern gets more love for what it does, more so than the Violet Lantern. But let me just read some things out to you. Violet Lantern. It's a light object, continual effect, but that doesn't matter anymore. Characters within 4 squares of this object can use mind control. That can use mind control. Modify their range values for that attack by +2. Figures with the range value of 0 replace their range with 6 instead of 4 for that attack. And if that attack is successful, each character successfully hit modifies its damage value by +1 until its free action granted by mind control is resolved. What does this mean, dear friends? This means that Mole Man with the Violet Lantern is a scary thing. It's a very scary thing, if you really start looking at your possibilities of what you can do with Mole Man. And for those people who don't really know what I'm talking about Mole Man from the Galactic Guardian set. Now, the big advantage of Mole Man from the Galactic Guardian set is that he can mind control. He only mind control monsters or figures with a monster keyword. Okay, but he can also mind control friendly monsters. This means that with his 9 attack, and also he gets +3 to his attack when he uses mind control, that with his base 9 attack that goes up to a 12, at lowest goes down to an 11, he is able to just go bonkers and mind control most figures with the monster keyword in the game. Just straight up, just mind control them with no problems. Add in the Violet Lantern, you start having figures that have already ridiculously high damage values that are also, in most cases, picking up an object, are also able to do pretty much cap damage whenever he mind controls. Also, since Mole Man's range is 0, his base range with mind control is 4, but with the Violet Lantern it's up to 6. And since Mole Man is grounded, you can also pick him up, and he also can outwit other figures. So let's stick to the pure HeroClix brands. Let's not go into the Street Fighter and Lord of the Rings shenanigans. Let's look legitimately at what you have for your options. Okay, first off, Avengers movie Frost Giant, 80 points of lovely. You know, yes, you're probably not going to have Laufey with him. That's fine, but you are getting an upfront 10 attack, 4 damage, giant symbol, full dial toughness, 4 clicks of charge total, and some Blaze Claws fangs. That's pretty good, okay, but it does get better. You know, you have the Hulk from the Avengers movie set. He gives you that nice sort of I hate to put it like this continual pressure, because your opponent knows that if they hit this Hulk, he will eventually like start doing a lot of damage. The up-front flurry is a good touch, but it as I said, it does get better. Okay, and where I feel that it gets the best at is the following 2 figures. The first is Frost Giant Champion. Frost Giant Champion, you might be thinking, I'm paying 10 more points and I'm getting less damage than the Frost Giant. Why are you picking this? Because of one beautiful powers, and that is Run Home Little Princess. Give Frost Giant Champion a free action if he has no action tokens, and choose a character within 6 squares in line of fire. That character possesses Battle Fury until your next turn. That's friendly characters and opposing characters. Okay. Do you understand how powerful that is? Hey, Galactus, I've mind controlled my Frost Giant Champion to walk up there. He doesn't have any action tokens, and he won't get an action token once this resolves. Oh, guess what? Your crazy range? Yeah, that's gone. You have Battle Fury. And Frost Giant Champion is just going to sit here until you multi-attack to come up and hit him. And then, guess what? I've won. I've got 90 points, and I've shut you down. Hey, Master Mold, you can't shoot me. Hey, Sniper, over there that's hitting me with Ranged Combat Expert, you can't use ranged attacks. Hey, White Lantern Flash, you can't use ranged attacks. Superman, you can't either. It is so powerful. And let's even say, like, hey, I have a great figure that has charge and super strength, and I really need to hit that Nightcrawler. But man, I only have 1 outwit that can see through stealth. What do? Frost Giant Champion. Give him Battle Fury. Outwit Nightcrawler's super senses. Boom. It's just beautiful. So Frost Giant Champion is really, in my opinion, at the top. The next one is the Bizarro from the Fast Forces Superman, the Smallville set or whatever it is, or Battle for Smallville. Now, note, I will say this: he starts with an 18 defense, and yeah, that's a little bit higher than the Frost Giant Champion. 11 attack, 4 damage, running shot, 7 range. It is awesome. At the other end of that, you might want to pack some prob, just in case. I know you just need a 6 starting off. You still probably want to pack some prob, because I feel that out of all the monsters that he can mind control, this is the one monster that can be a game changer. And so you need to make sure that you're able to do some really, really good stuff with him. Now, I will also say honorable mention does go to All-Star Bizarro. All-Star Bizarro is easy to mind control, is easy to sort of manipulate around the field. Just make sure you bring some Perplex to back him up. You won't ever have a problem mind controlling him early game. The only problem comes in with All-Star Bizarro is just making sure that he hits. But other than that, I mean, it's a awesome object, that wonderful, beautiful Violet Lantern. So just think about it. Let that marinate in your head, and hopefully beautiful goodness will come out. Okay. The next object that we're going to look at, just for fun, is an object that I felt had the potential in name to give people a second thought of not choosing the Gauntlet, but in application, I think WizKids, while comic accurate, failed to actually motivate people away from the idea of the Gauntlet, and that is the Cosmic Cube. And I will preference this. The Cosmic Cube, by far, for any relic that we've had access to, for its points, is probably the second to third most powerful object that we have received in HeroClix as a 3D sculpt. Yeah, I'm just going to straight up say it like that. You might say, well, we had the Coke machine and the dumpster and the lamp post, and you can't forget about Molnar and all these other figures. No, listen to me. The Cosmic Cube is awesome. Now, before I really get into how beautiful the Cosmic Cube is, I will say the following downfalls of why it will never become meta unless someone really gets creative. First off, there's the Infinity Gauntlet. I almost hate to say it, like I need to just end it there. The second thing is it's 12 points instead of 15 points. I mean, so 12 points instead of like 10 or 5 points. What's so big about that? Okay, let's look at it. For 3 more points, you can have the Infinity Gauntlet with 1 gem. Just let that sink in. You can put the Reality Gem on and get probability control and +1 stats if you get to 2. So you get technically 5 perplexes. So you're automatically point costed out. Okay. The other thing is that you can drop the Cosmic Cube, because after you use any of the powers, which is perplex and probability by chance. I apologize. I should have stated that in the beginning. On a 1 or a 2, you place the Cosmic Cube. You roll a d6 on a 1 or a 2. You place the Cosmic Cube in that square. Well, you only can pick up the Cosmic Cube once per game. So if you drop the Cosmic Cube, the potato's too hot in your hand, guess what? You can't pick it back up again. This is why I feel that they really dropped the ball on this. It's a very powerful, very, very powerful object. Being able to use Perplex and have probability control just there, and not having to say like, oh man, daggone it, I forgot to pack a probber in my team, or I don't have the points for a probber in my team. I don't have the points for the extra perplex that I need. Cosmic Cube, it literally fixes all your issues, but they jacked up by allowing you to drop the object. And I think they try to balance that out by saying, oh, wait, 4, 5, or 6 you can pick it up. So you have a 50% chance of picking it up. And I really hate to say that 50% chance really doesn't encourage me to play this this object. So unfortunately, this object will be relegated to obscurity. A lot of people won't play it, and it's just sad. It's an awesome, and one more word, awesome object. I really think that it could have been a lot bigger deal if it wasn't for the Infinity Gauntlet. And I will say this: let's take a moment and pause and look at all the objects that I've talked about, and then said there's no Infinity Gauntlet. How many of these objects would be super viable now? How creative would your teams be? And I want you to sort of take that, put it in the back of your head, let it germinate, let it grow, and then show up to your meta and just say, hey, guess what? This week I'm not playing the Gauntlet. Everyone's going to look at you sideways and say, hey, I have this team that I've worked on, and it's based around a different object. And I'm going to take those extra 5 points, and I'm going to get a better version of X. Or I'm going to take those 10 points, and I'm going to get a cooler version of Y. Or in some cases, I'm going to take those 35 points, and that's going to give me an extra figure that, you know, instead of the Gauntlet. And I'm going to put this other object on my team, and it's going to give me these creative options. So I just want you to think of that as you go out there and build your teams. Okay? I know this is a shorter show, and some of you might be a tad bit disappointed, but I think that, you know, dealing with objects is something that it's been long overdue. I've had a whole bunch of shows that I had from my previous show on objects where I looked through the meta in depth, but I don't think that those are probably going to be going up at all. So I wanted to give you all some general analysis that I had from studying all those different nuances that could be seen by using the various different objects. And who knows, maybe some other time in the future I'll touch on some different objects that you want me to talk on. All right, this is the Starting Over podcast. And remember, we all got to start over sometime. Check you later.